Once upon a time, in a tranquil town nestled between rolling hills, there lived a man named David Calloway. David was an ordinary man with an extraordinary piece of loss weighing down his heart. 11 years ago, his son Michael had passed away, leaving an unfillable void in David's life. Every Sunday, as a way to honor Michael's memory, David would visit the little cemetery just outside town, where a single oak tree stood tall, providing shade and solace to grieving families. The cemetery was David's sanctuary, a place where silence reigned, and memories danced like shadows among the gravestones. With each visit, he brought fresh flowers, a ritual that connected him to Michael. Today, he had chosen white roses, a symbol of purity and remembrance. The morning sun bathed the landscape in a warm glow as David made his way down the winding path, familiar sights unfolding around him: the old wrought iron gate, the path lined with stones, and finally, the grave itself. Kneeling before the polished granite headstone, David placed the roses in the small vase he had lovingly placed there long ago. "Hello, buddy," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "It's Sunday again, and I've brought you flowers." He traced Michael's name with trembling fingers, a bittersweet ache bubbling up inside him. "I miss you so much." Every visit felt like a reminder of all he had lost. He recalled Michael's laughter echoing through their home, the way he had run to his father with boundless energy, and the innocent joy that filled each moment. David closed his eyes, allowing the memories to wash over him. For just a moment, it felt like Michael was there, laughing and playing just beyond his reach. But the warmth of memory was interrupted. A soft rustling came from nearby. David opened his eyes and turned to see a little girl standing a few feet away. She wore a flowing white dress that danced lightly in the wind, and her bright blue eyes held an intensity that both intrigued and puzzled him. She appeared to be engrossed in her own thoughts, gazing at the gravestones with a mixture of wonder and sadness. "Hello," David called out, his voice tentative yet curious. The girl turned her head slowly to regard him, her expression solemn. For a brief moment, their eyes locked, and it felt as though she could see through him, to the pain he so often buried deep inside. Then, without a word, she turned and darted into the woods bordering the cemetery, her small figure disappearing between the trees. David was left standing there, the mystery of the child weighing heavily on his mind. Who was she? Did she come here often? Why had she been watching him? He returned his gaze to Michael's grave, feeling a mix of confusion and intrigue. Just then, something caught his eye. Nestled amidst the white roses was a single white lily, its petals bright against the soft green stalk. David's heart raced. Michael had loved lilies. In disbelief, he knelt closer, inspecting the delicate flower. Had the girl left it for him? A mixture of emotions surged within him: gratitude, wonder, and an undeniable longing. The girl had appeared and disappeared like a fleeting dream, yet her presence felt significant, as though she were a messenger sent to guide him through his grief. With a newfound resolve, David left the cemetery that day feeling different than when he had arrived. The hole inside him still ached, but it was accompanied by the slightest flicker of hope. Perhaps he wasn't alone in his sorrow, perhaps others were seeking solace too. Determined to return, David promised himself that he would come back next Sunday, not just to visit Michael, but to search for the girl in the white dress. He wondered if she could provide him insight into his grief, if she, too, carried the weight of loss. As the days unfolded, his anticipation grew. Every moment brought memories of Michael, blended with thoughts of the mysterious girl. He imagined her stories, her laughter, and how perhaps she understood the complexities of love and loss better than anyone. That hope entwined with his grief, creating a tapestry of emotions he hadn't felt in years. Finally, Sunday arrived again, the sun peeking through the clouds, promising a beautiful day ahead. David made his way back to the cemetery with renewed energy, clutching a fresh bouquet, this time a mix of white roses and lilies, brimming with love and remembrance. When he arrived, the familiar sights felt different. Today, they buzzed with possibility. He carefully laid the flowers at Michael's gravestone and glanced around, scanning the area for signs of the girl. Moments stretched into minutes, and just as doubt began to creep in, he caught sight of her, standing at the edge of the woods. There she was in her white dress, illuminated by the golden rays of sunlight streaming through the trees. David's heart skipped a beat. Gathering his courage, he called out to her. "Hey! Wait!" The girl paused, turning her head slowly, a small smile visible on her face. To David's surprise, she stepped closer, her feet padding softly against the grass. As she approached, he noticed an air of serenity about her, as if she belonged to this place, perhaps as much as he did. "What's your name?" David asked gently, kneeling down to her level to make her feel comfortable. "Lily," she replied, her voice a soft melody that echoed the name of the flower he had brought, a name that, in this moment, seemed steeped in significance. "Lily," David repeated, a smile breaking through his somber demeanor. That's a beautiful name. She studied him for a moment, as if weighing the depth of his sorrow. Are you sad? She asked, her tone direct yet kind. Yes, David admitted, his heart pounding in his chest. I lost my son, Michael. I come here to visit him. Lily's brow furrowed for a moment. I know what it's like to miss someone. My best friend moved away. I don't know if I'll see her again. A pang of recognition coursed through David. While the nuances of their losses were different, the feelings of absence were universal, a bond connecting them in this sanctuary filled with memories. I'm sorry, he said gently. It's not easy to miss people we love. Lily nodded, her expression thoughtful. Sometimes I come here to talk to the flowers. They listen, you know. David smiled, intrigued. Really? Do they say anything back? No, but the pretty ones make me feel better, she replied earnestly, her eyes sparkling like gems in the sunlight. Flowers are like friends, they remind you of good times. He thought about her words, feeling a new sense of lightness settling over him. Perhaps that was it, finding beauty in the memories, in the flowers left behind. Would you like to help me pick some flowers for Michael? David asked, feeling a spark of joy at the thought of including her in this personal ritual. Lily's face brightened. Yes. Let's pick the prettiest ones. The two wandered through the cemetery, picking lilacs, daisies, and the occasional lively sunflower. As they gathered flowers, David shared stories of Michael, about his love for adventure, his laughter, and the time they built a treehouse together, an unyielding fortress of childhood dreams. Lily listened wide-eyed, wrapping the flowers into a makeshift bouquet, a unified tribute to both their losses. I wish I could have met him, she said softly, her gaze steady. He sounds like a great friend. In that moment, David felt a warmth in his heart that he hadn't experienced in years, an echo of Michael's laughter bridging their lives together. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, casting a warm glow across the cemetery, David and Lily returned to Michael's grave. Together, they arranged the flowers in a delightful array, weaving them into a colorful tribute. Thank you, David said, emotion thick in his voice as he looked at Lily. You made today special. I needed this. Lily smiled, her eyes sparkling with understanding. Just like flowers need sunshine, sometimes we all need a friend. As they stood together, surrounded by the beauty and quiet of the cemetery, David felt the heaviness in his heart begin to lift. Perhaps grief was not meant to be faced alone. Perhaps, in sharing their stories, they could find healing and light beyond the sorrow. With a newfound sense of connection, David knew this was only the beginning of an unexpected journey, one intertwined with grief, hope, and friendships that bloomed in the most unlikely of places. And as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky with colors of promise, David recognized that sometimes, the most profound connections arise from shared pain, leading them to brighter tomorrows. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky with hues of blush and tangerine, David sat beside Lily, a comforting warmth radiating through the lingering coolness of the autumn air. The flowers they had arranged together stood proudly on Michael's grave, a vibrant tribute to love and remembrance. David felt a sense of peace wash over him. The heaviness that had engulfed his heart for so long felt just a little lighter today, just like the breeze that stirred the leaves around them. Can I come back next week? Lily asked, her gaze fixed on the grave. There was an earnestness in her voice, a mixture of childlike wonder and genuine concern. I like it here. It's quiet. David smiled at her. Of course you can come back. I would like that very much. He glanced at the grave, the bouquet of flowers bursting with color, and felt a sense of connection, not only to Michael but also to this young girl who had walked into his life unexpectedly. Maybe we can bring a snack next time, Lily suggested, her eyes sparkling with mischievous excitement. We could have a picnic. A picnic? David chuckled. The idea was delightfully absurd yet incredibly heartwarming. That sounds like a wonderful idea. What do you want to eat? Sandwiches. Peanut butter and jelly, she exclaimed, giggling. And cookies. Can we bring cookies? David laughed, the sound echoing softly in the stillness of the cemetery. For the first time in years, he didn't feel burdened by sadness. Instead, he felt the stirrings of joy taking root. Okay, sandwiches and cookies it is. But I get to pick the cookies. Lily scrunched her nose in mock dismay. You mean I can't choose? Only if you let me have a say in how we build the sandwich, he teased, his heart feeling a warmth he hadn't realized he missed. They shared laughter, the kind that nestled warmly between them, a bond formed in the openness of shared grief. The conversation swayed from snacks to the wonders of nature, and David found himself enthralled by Lily's imagination, easy laughter, and innocent perspective. As the sun began to fully set, painting the surroundings in gold, he realized that this unexpected visit had added a new layer to his life, a sprinkle of childlike joy amidst the heavy storms of sorrow. When it was finally time to part, Lily stood up and brushed off her dress. "I have to go home now, but I'll see you next Sunday," she announced with a bright smile, her confidence unshakable. "Yes, you will," David agreed, standing with her. "And you can tell me about all your adventures in the coming week." With a wave and a skip in her step, Lily bounded away, her laughter trailing behind her like a melody that lingered even as she disappeared down the winding path of the cemetery. David watched her go, feeling an unfamiliar warmth enveloping him. For years, the world outside had been cloaked in gray, but today there was a hint of color, a bloom of life in the form of friendship. The week unfolded slowly yet filled with an inexplicable sense of anticipation. Each day, David found himself reflecting on his time with Lily, the way her blue eyes lit up when she spoke, how she had so effortlessly woven herself into his heart. The conversations they had shared replayed in his mind, each one a reminder that life still held moments of light, even amidst the shadows of grief. When Sunday finally arrived, David was ready. He meticulously prepared for their picnic, packing sandwiches and cookies with more care than he had afforded in years. As he made his way to the cemetery, he found himself smiling at the thought of Lily. He felt buoyed, as if each step was lifted by the hope that perhaps, through his connection with her, he could also reconnect with the remnants of joy he thought he'd lost forever. Arriving at the cemetery, David's heart raced as he scanned the landscape for the familiar figure in white. He approached Michael's grave, his pulse quickening with each footstep. Today felt different, brighter, and he couldn't shake the feeling that something special was about to happen. Just as he finished setting the picnic blanket under the oak tree, he spotted Lily emerging from the tree line, her white dress flowing behind her like a gossamer thread. She was holding a small basket, the faint smell of sweet cookies wafting into the air like a delightful promise. "Hi, David," she called out as she ran toward him, a beaming smile lighting up her face. "Hi there, Lily," he replied, returning her enthusiasm tenfold. "You made it." "Of course. I wouldn't miss our picnic," she declared, her cheeks flushed with excitement. She dropped her basket onto the blanket, and they both settled onto the cloth, faces glowing with anticipation. "I brought cookies," Lily announced triumphantly, opening the basket to reveal an assortment of baked goodies. "And I helped my mom make them. Look, there's chocolate chip, and those are snickerdoodles." David's eyes widened as he spotted the delicious treats. "These look amazing. Your mom is a great baker." He picked up a chocolate chip cookie, amazed at how eagerly his heart raced with the joy of the simple moment, sharing treats with a new friend. "Can I have half?" Lily asked, her voice mischievous with glee. After they finished their first cookies, David raised his sandwich in salute. "For friendship," he proclaimed, and they both took a hearty bite, laughter spilling from their mouths like the joyous spirit of youth. As they indulged in snacks and chat, David opened up about Michael, telling stories that painted the boy's vibrant personality. He spoke of how Michael had taken his first bike ride, how they had gone camping, and that time Michael had tried to catch a butterfly but ended up tumbling into a bush instead. The stories were interspersed with bursts of laughter and the occasional cookie crumbs spilling onto the picnic blanket. In return, Lily shared tales of her own, the time she had climbed a tree and got stuck, her triumph of finally learning to ride a bike, and how she often whispered secrets to the flowers in her garden. David marveled at her vibrant imagination and how she took the simplest moments and painted them with vivid strokes of joy. "Sometimes when you talk to flowers, they tell you what they want," she explained matter-of-factly, her eyes wide with sincerity. "Like daisies like the sun, but roses like more rain." David grinned. "So, if I'm a flower," he mused, "what do you think I need?" Lily paused, tapping her chin dramatically as she considered. "You might need sunshine, too. Or maybe you just need more friends," she declared, her expression brightening with her own wisdom. For a moment, David felt a steely resolve forming. Perhaps she was right. Perhaps it was time to open up more, to allow others into his world, to seek out connections rather than suffer in solitude. As their picnic progressed, a comfortable rhythm formed between them. They shared stories, thoughts, and dreams, the bond between them growing stronger with each shared moment. David couldn't remember the last time he had felt this carefree, this alive. He felt alive in a way he thought he had lost forever. As they finished their picnic, Lily stood up, gathering the empty wrappers. "Can we make it a tradition?" she asked, her voice hopeful. "Every Sunday, just you and me?" David's heart swelled at the thought. "I'd love that, Lily," he replied earnestly. "Every Sunday it is." They packed up, putting away their empty wrappers and remnants of their meal. David felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude as they walked back to Michael's grave. The flowers remained vibrant and alive in the wake of their laughter, a reminder of the companionship they had forged through grief. Standing before the gravestone, Lily laid her hand across the flowers. "Hi, Michael," she said brightly, as if addressing an old friend. I liked hearing about all the fun things you did. I hope you're happy. David's heart swelled as he watched her. At that moment, he realized grieving didn't mean he had to be alone. Perhaps it meant sharing stories, laughter, and moments of resilience with others in unexpected ways. As they left, sunlight filtering through the trees and casting playful shadows around them, David understood that this was not just a new chapter. It was the beginning of a beautiful friendship, interwoven with healing and hope, blossoming from shared sorrow into something vibrant and enriching. And as Sunday melted into memory, David knew that while Michael would always hold a special place in his heart, there was room for new connections, new laughter, and new stories to be told, a bridge built from compassion, understanding, and hope across the chasm of grief. As the weeks turned into months, David and Lily forged a friendship that flourished like the flowers they tended to at the cemetery. Every Sunday became a cherished ritual, each visit to Michael's grave transformed into a celebration of life and love shared, woven together by stories, laughter, and the sense of blooming flowers. They expanded their picnics to include a variety of homemade delights. Cookies turned into pastel cupcakes decorated with sprinkles, sandwiches transformed into creative shapes, and even the occasional fizzy soda to make their gatherings feel like grand feasts. David marveled at Lily's perspective. Her views were refreshingly childlike, yet shrewd and insightful. With each story he shared about Michael, Lily's understanding of grief deepened, while she offered him insight into life's joys as well. It was as if both were healing together, mending the wounds of loss through laughter and the innocence of friendship. On one particular cloudy Sunday, as they settled down in their usual spot under the oak tree, David noticed that Lily seemed quieter than usual. Her pigtails, usually bouncing with enthusiasm, hung limply against her cheeks. "Everything okay?" he asked, concern etched on his features. Lily nodded but was slow in her response. "I've been thinking," she said softly, "about my best friend Grace. She's moving again, forward. She's going to a new school. What if she forgets me?" David's heart ached for her. "It's hard when someone you care about leaves," he said gently, remembering his own loss. "But real friendships, like flowers, are resilient. They always find a way to bloom again, even across distances." Her eyes met his, shimmering with a mix of hope and uncertainty. "But what if she finds new friends and doesn't miss me?" David reached for one of the lilacs they had picked. "Let's think of it this way, sometimes when flowers grow, they spread seeds. It's the same with friendships. Even if they seem distant, they can still grow in our hearts." Lily smiled slightly, reassured. "Like new flowers popping up in spring?" "Exactly," he replied, his heart swelling with pride at how quickly she grasped the concept. "And you'll always carry your memories with you. They connect us, no matter where we go." The clouds gradually parted, revealing a soft, golden glow that illuminated the cemetery, casting long shadows as the sun began to set. David felt the weight of Lily's thoughts and realized that healing wasn't just something he had to do alone, it was something they could do together, empowering each other amidst their losses. As autumn faded into winter, their bond grew stronger. David noticed that Lily was becoming more open about her feelings. She brought stories of Grace and shared her fears, while also filling their time together with laughter, silly games, and wild tales of imagination. One chilly December day, with a blanket of soft snow resembling powdered sugar on the ground, they turned their focus toward building a small winter garden near Michael's grave. David had brought seeds of spring, a symbol of new beginnings for both of them. "Let's plant these together," he suggested, holding up the tiny packets decorated with bright spring flowers. "What flowers are they?" Lily asked eagerly, cubing her hands around her cheeks, excitement sparkling in her eyes.